Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toku to BL pipeline, where we're going to look at what is the Toku to BL pipeline anyway, why is there such a crossover in actors, and just generally talk a little bit about the phenomenon. I'm going to warn right off the bat, this is going to be a PG-13 panel, content, a content warning for male-presenting nipples, sexual references, and liberal application of the female gaze. So kind of the opposite of what was in Lenore's panel. A lot more female gaze, a lot less male gaze. So yeah, it's men we're putting in the situations this time for better for worse. My name is Sichan, and I have put on my BL vest. And if you were here last year, you might remember this slide from my Toku to BL pipeline panel, from my introduction to Toku panel, in which I talked about how Kamen Rider Bill really is the epitome of the Toku to BL pipeline. And in fact, as you can see here, the primary, secondary, and tertiary riders have all starred in their own shows. We're going to be using these guys as a bit of a case study for the Toku BL pipeline again this year, especially these two. The heart is not here by mistake, by the way. The characters are highly shippable, and we will also talk about that in a little bit. It's a thing. So let's start off by just going over Toku BL pipeline. What? So Toku is short for tokusatsu. This is Japanese live action shows or movies, traditionally with a heavy focus on practical effects rather than CGI. If we wanted to take this into a North American or Western context, Star Wars, Doctor Who, Star Trek, those would absolutely count as tokusatsu. And in fact, there's a lot of fun jokes that can be made about Heisei Who versus Showa Who, because both both Kamen Rider and Doctor Who took a very similar break in the middle of their production for a decently long period of time. And there's a similar tone change between the early shows and the later ones when they started production again. For the Japanese side, we're going to be focusing on shows like Super Sentai, Kamen Rider. Other examples are Ultraman and Metal Heroes. Toei is a major producer, and in fact, did all of the shows that I listed right above there, except for Ultraman, which is done by Tsuburaya, Tsupro. And the heroes in these shows are usually male. There are certainly female heroes. There are sometimes entire teams of female heroes. For instance, Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon, or there's a couple other shows out there. Girl slash Heroine is another great one, which is a group of girls, and there are some singular girls as well, like Patsurin. However, usually these shows either are entirely male, or in a team like Super Sentai, where it's generally a mixed gender group, most of them are going to be guys. I think there's only been one fully male team in the main canon, though there's also a couple other debatable ones. So, Toku, that's more or less what we're talking about. So, what about BL? BL is short for boys love. If any of you prefer the term yaoi or shonenai, there's a lot of crossover between the three. Some people will tell you that there is very specific definitions for each three. And today we're going to use BL, or boys love. These essentially are pretty men in homoerotic situations. These shows or works in general are created for a primary female audience, and they exist in various media, but we'll be focusing on the live action stuff today because that's going to be the ones with Toku actors. Shockingly, the manga BL doesn't really have a lot of Toku actors in it, although I'm sure there's one or two out there. And if you go into the Joujinshi, and I have seen Joujinshi sold at cons, it has very heavy Toku presence. So yes, you can get pretty far into this in several areas. So, pipeline. As you can probably tell from these first two things, we have two things with a very heavy male populated cast. As such, the middle of this Venn diagram is going to be ikemen or bishonen, or just generally pretty boys. However, a lot of us have noticed in the fandom one particular trend, and that is they go in this direction. Sometimes it will go in the other direction, and we will talk about that too. But generally speaking, we get actors who have been in tokusatsu, and after a while, they show up again in a BL series or multiple BL series, or oh god, why is it this guy again? So, how much of a thing is it? It's a thing. Zetai BL is pretty much a case study for this. Darn those pretty boys, pretty much. Zetai BL is a case study and a great example of this because it is pretty much the speed run of BL series. The main character in Zetai BL is literally named Mobu. He is an extra. And he is our main character, but he is an extra that realizes he's in a world full of BL. He's realized that there's not a lot of girls around him for some reason, and also that boys seem to be falling left, right, and center for each other, and he wants no part of this. Spoiler alerts, he can't avoid it. He cannot avoid it. But because of this, we get a lot of guys in this show, and there's only one other show that people just keep on laughing and saying, oh no, this show is the Toku to BL pipeline encapsulated. The other one being not quite BL, though very questionably that, but Kimi no Yukite Saku Shinsengumi say sorry. Kimi to Yukite Saku Shinsengumi Seishunroku, which is a Shinsengumi show based on Osamu Tezuka work, I believe. And if you have seen the trailer for that show, let alone anything else, oh boy, they are capitalizing on the homoerotic vibes, even if it is purely not going to go any deeper than that within the plot itself. It definitely has the vibes. People are like, yep, it's that again. So now we have an idea of, okay, we have a bunch of pretty boys. They tend to be cast in both. So why? And for that, let's take a look at who the target audience is for both shows. So for Tokusatsu in particular, there's kind of three target audiences. There's a primary audience, secondary audience, and tertiary audience. And I'm wondering, does anyone want to take a guess as to who these groups might be? Yeah, these are three very distinct audiences. And let's just see. Diehard fans, typical fans, casual fans, that's a pretty good guess. But I would say the primary audience are the kids, especially younger boys. For Super Sentai, this is a bit of a younger group. For Kamen Rider, it's going to be a slightly older group, but they're trying to get the kids interested in the shows. Why? Because they want to get them to buy all their playsets and toys. So they're trying to make a show that the kids are going to enjoy watching, because these are Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, and a lot of the other shows out there are kids shows. So primary audience is them. I'm going to skip ahead to the tertiary audience now. That's where you get your diehard fans, typical fans, and casual fans. These are the adults who are pretty much going to buy the stuff no matter what. Yes, we are talking all money here. So we have the primary fans who are the kids who they want to be interested in all the playsets and toys and I don't want this. I don't want this toy anymore. I want the new one for this next year. Or, oh my gosh, Gokai new one has keys for every show. Actually, this is probably more the tertiary audience. Gokaiger has keys for every show. Every Sentai that has ever existed, including all the extra Rangers, have their own keys. I must have all the keys. This gets really insane when you get to Tokuger, which has a 300 at release time, $300 collection of Ranger keys just for that show in a barrel, because for Tokuger, you had 6 rangers, 5 of which all could interchange with each other, and actually a 7th ranger as well, plus some extra forms for all of them outside of their 5 main colors. It was really shiny. I was very tempted. I do not have it because I was not willing to shell out that much for ranger keys. But again, tertiary audience are going to follow the show pretty much no matter what, are going to buy the slop, are going to get the expensive stuff because they love the show and there's premium stuff made just for them. But what about the secondary audience? It's the moms. The moms who will probably be the ones buying all the play sets and toys, the ones who will be able to make the decision as to whether or not the TV is on in the first place for the kids to watch the shows and grow up into the adults who will be greatly interested in them. And I have a great case sample for just, again, a little idea as to how the moms play an important part in this, and that is going back to Kamen Rider Build. So a little bit of history for you here. Kamen Rider and Super Sentai are part of a block called Superhero Time. And for a long time, since at least 2003, Super Sentai had aired on Sunday mornings at 7:30, and Kamen Rider aired at 8. On October 1st, 2017, this changed to Kamen Rider at 9 and Super Sentai at 9:30. So not only did they switch order, they actually were like an hour and a half, 2 hours later. So they needed to make sure that, hey, people, remember this time change. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to catch the show. And also, make sure you're around to watch these shows because you want to keep watching them, right? So there were advertisements for this that happened around the shows and probably other places as well. But being someone who watches the shows as they come out, they were appended to the ends of a lot of the episodes and maybe sometimes the beginnings as well, showing just like this that, hey, we're changing time slots. They also had little animations of the two guys swapping places. It was really cute. But Kamen Rider Build started a month earlier than that at September 3rd. So pretty much the entire time leading up to this, because that's only 4 episodes, they were announcing, hey, this change is happening. Hey, don't forget that this change is happening. So again, you want the moms to be invested so that they will allow the kids to keep watching the show despite the new time. This is how we get introduced to the man who will become our secondary rider, Banjo Yuga. Yes, he is shirtless and he is wet. They also played flashbacks to this scene and the little bit that follows, shirtless and wet, in the next 2 episodes as well, meaning that for 3 out of the 4 references, he is shown in this state, and that's not including the opening, because he's also shirtless in the opening, but a little bit less wet. So we were joking, even as these episodes came out. Hey moms, don't forget the time change. You want to see more of this guy, right? You want to see more of this guy. Topless, beautiful. Yeah, you want to see more of this. So remember, our showtime is going to be 9 a.m. starting October 1st. And yeah, it worked, at least so far as we can tell, because the show kept going strong, and Kamen Rider and Super Sentai have survived at their new times ever since. I will also note that for the 2 episodes in which they had flashbacks to this, again, they made the explicit choice to use flashbacks of him wet and topless. About a minute after they showed him like this, he actually got this very, very dirty shirt that he put on, which I need to just give it a little tangent about, because Premium Bandai sold this shirt that looked like it had been run over by a car several times. And I have no idea why they thought that was a good idea. But they could have used shots of him in that outfit with a t-shirt on, going about his business. No, they went for wet and shirtless Banjo Yuga instead. So now we have an idea. Yeah, so they are going to target the moms in their choice of how they want things to look. So, BL, who is their target audience? And in that case, we're looking at women, specifically straight women, i.e., fujoshi. This doesn't mean that they're the only ones enjoying it. There are a lot of queer people who enjoy BL. Certainly, if you look at AO3, and AO3 is such heavily, there is such a heavy preference for male fanfic on AO3. It's kind of the same vibe here, where it is very much a similar audience that it's being purported to, but there's a whole lot of different groups that will enjoy it. I will also say some gay men do enjoy BL, some find it off-putting, and some men in general just like it. Fudanshi is a term just as much as fujoshi is. You just hear about fujoshi a lot more. And just like everything, BL is not going to be everyone's BL is not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but for those who enjoy it, yeah, they do. And I'll also note that a lot of BL is not too far off from shoujo romance, except that your protagonist is also a boy. So a lot of people who enjoy shoujo are probably going to enjoy BL as well. And yes, they are allowed to be wrong. So again, some of the BL out there is good, some of it is total trash, and some of it is trash that we all enjoy because you are allowed to enjoy trash. So who's the target audience? For both, straight women is there, whether it is going for the fujoshi market or for the moms. And this is not to say that they're the only kind of person who can enjoy both of them at the same time. They can and should be fun for everyone who wants them. I'd also like to point out here that I'm not saying it's straight women's fault that there's a lot of crossover here, so much as Tokusatsu is already going to have a male cast because it's a show for little boys, and producers on high are pretty much going, yeah, this is going to be a guy thing, to the point that a couple years ago for Kamen Rider Revice, the writer actually wanted to make the primary rider, the main character, girl, and he was told no. She became the tertiary rider instead and is amazing. But again, there's production reasons, and I'm not going to get into that side of it, but in short, one of the reasons why they try to cast pretty boys in particular is due to this. I will also note this is not a new sensation. Going back to Kamen Rider Amazon, which was in the 70s at some point, I believe, the actor playing Kamen Rider Amazon has pointed out that they pretty much decided for fan service reasons, Amazon was going to pretty much be in a loincloth and not wear a shirt for a lot longer than they could have done it and still have it made sense for the character. So this is nothing new. They want fan service, and Toku to BL, there we go. So where do these boys come from is our next question. So there's a lot of different places, but the one we're going to look at first off and kind of focus on is the Junon Superboy Contest. This is an annual competition held by Junon, which is a magazine that's basically meant for women. Contestants are boys aged from 13 to 22 who are not currently associated with an agency. And yeah, it's essentially a popularity and talent scouting competition. And I don't know if you've noticed yet, but yeah, that's Akuso Eiji, that's Kamen Rider Build. And there are over 35 winners that have gone on to star in Tokusatsu. I've listed 4 over here, and as you can see, for 4 out of 5 years in a row, they all were the main character in a Kamen Rider series in particular. This again is that's right. They had that parade for Rufus. I do not know that parade, but I will take your word on it. I do know that Cinnamon Roll was I believe it was Cinnamon Roll. Sanrio character was a contestant one year. Quick hydration break. But yes. So this is one place that they absolutely get their actors from. And yes, hydration is very important. Sorry. Um, there are also contests out there for people who are already associated with talent agencies. Akaso Eiji, for example, was already associated with an agency when he won a different Grand Prix not long before starting Kamen Rider Build. And they also often go for people who are from stage work. It used to be, I don't think as much anymore because Prince of Tennis is not as much a thing, but there are other things like Token Rambu that this is probably true of. But for a long while, if it wasn't someone from Junon Superboy contest, your next question would be, okay, who did he play in Tenimyu? And it would almost certainly be one or the other, with some exceptions, because pretty boys can come from just about anywhere. But Takeda Kohei, who was Kamen Rider Greece, the tertiary writer for Kamen Rider Build, I just want to point out he was a Judges Special Award winner for the Junon Superboy contest and is notable for being one of the people to have played not one, but two major Kamen Rider roles. So why exactly are these boys often cast? As noted, they're pretty boys. They've literally won a pretty boy competition. They are already women approved. They have won a pretty boy competition from a women's magazine in which women have actually gone online and voted to help save their favorites. This can also mean that women are already invested in that particular yes, pretty boy award. I am calling Junon Superboy Pretty Boy Award because that's at least partially exactly what it is. But yes, if someone was in this competition and a woman really liked their face or something about how they presented themselves, they might already want to follow their career. How many times have you found an actor and gone, I really like how they played this role. I wonder what else they've done for something that is meant to be where a lot of people get scouted from, such as the Junon Superboy competition, because the winners will often get offers from many, many agencies. This is going to be a great way to make sure that the mums are already invested in the shows before they've even began. The other thing is they're cheap because they're brand new into the world of acting. So they're not going to demand the same salary that someone with an illustrious career might go for. And in fact, Toei likes to cast relatively new and unknown actors in their shows to the point that Kamen Rider and Super Sentai and other shows like that are often the launching pad to a very illustrious career. My friends and I were shocked recently when we saw the likes of Yamada Yuki, Gokai Blue, guest star in Boon Boonjer for one episode, because out of everyone in Gokaiger, the show that he was in, he is the one who has made the most illustrious career for himself. Two of his co-stars have gone on to be voice actors mainly, though one of them, I believe, is now somewhat out of the industry due to heavy scandal. I'm not going to touch on that beyond that. Fukushi Sota, again, who showed up in, I believe he's made a couple cameos in recent years. And he was Kamen Rider Forze, and he went on to he and his co-stars, all of the writers from Kamen Rider Forze actually were in the live-action Bleach, which they made fun of a couple years later by beeping out Bleach, but kept on just posing like the characters that they went on to play. But yes, people like those two, their careers just went so far after their launching point of Kamen Rider and Super Sentai, and we were just shocked that they would show up at all. But that actually also says something about how Toei has improved their practices, because there are some other actors, for instance, the original actor for Kamen Rider Kuga, who had a horrible experience, said he would never come back. And he has done other things. He has gone on to have an illustrious career himself, but he's not going to step on set again. So good and bad things there. So we've gone over what these things are, why they share a common pool of people, and also where these guys come from. And yeah, the main reason why Toku to BL happens in that order is because Toei likes cheap boys, which is probably a weird soundbite, but it is true. So next, let us look at a case study of Kamen Rider Build and Cherry Magic 30 Years of Virginity Can Make You a Wizard, which is another one of those long titles like we talked about the other day, where, yeah, that pretty much sums up the entire series for you. So Kamen Rider Build is 2017's Kamen Rider, as I've already said. And the basic plot of it is that 10 years after an incident divided Japan into 3 different nations, called the Skywall Incident, an amnesiac physicist fights monsters alongside a prison escapee arrested for a murder that he swears he didn't commit. And the main 2 themes of it are science, specifically physics, and war. So that is the basic premise of the show. However, from a BL perspective, there is an incredible amount of chemistry between the entire cast. The main 2 actually are referred to more than once as a best match, which, yeah, it is very, very shippy, but you can also just multi and poly ship amongst the entire cast. The amnesiac, Kiryu Sento, is such a morosexual that even before he lost his mind, his former boyfriend, because yes, you can speculate, there's a lot of hints, his former boyfriend was also a giant idiot. And we learned about that later on in the show. And yeah, in general, when you explicitly have to say multiple times that 2 characters are not dating, fandom is going to agree that they are. They absolutely are. And yeah, Sento and Banjo in particular. Exactly. The lady doth protest too much, and the lady in this case is the writers and or probably more the producers, because yeah, this is a very queer-coded show. It is a great show, and I thoroughly recommend giving it a watch, because if you are interested in the pipeline, again, there's a reason why many of the guys from the show go on to BL. But on the other hand, it's a really great and fascinating show in and of itself. And it is very easy to get hooked with that one. So let's go on to Cherry Magic. This is a 2020 J drama based on the manga of the same name. And essentially, there is an urban myth that if you reach your 30th birthday and are still a virgin, you gain the ability to read minds of the people you touch. And Adachi Toru, our main character, finds out on his 30th birthday that this is absolutely true. He did not believe it right up until he touched the hand of the guy that he's buying breakfast from on his way to work on his 30th birthday, and suddenly he can read his thoughts. And he can also read the thoughts of everyone who bumps up against him in the elevator. And oh boy. So, as you can imagine, through one thing and another, he ends up reading the thoughts of his coworker, Kurosawa, who is the popular man in the office, and finds out that Kurosawa is in love with him. And the show has a lot of tropes that you find in a decent amount of BL, including main character not actually realizing he might be interested in guys until he finds out that guy is interested in him, and what is this feeling? And yeah, it is this J drama is very good, and there is now also an anime. There's now also another adaptation, I believe, is it Filipino? And there is also a stage version coming out, which ironically stars another Toku actor, which we all find hilarious. But if you haven't noticed yet, yeah, that's Akaso Eiji. That is Grease. That is that guy. So let me tell you about a little bit about what it was like being a fan of this show in 2020 as the show was airing. This is very much Tumblr era. Such an interesting premise. It is a good show. There's a reason why it's had so many adaptations, and this one in particular, I will say, Kamen Rider. Sorry, not Kamen Rider. There is an asexual woman in this show who is not quite 30 yet herself, and in this adaptation as well, I love the way that she is written. Um, you get very much her thoughts because, of course, she's touched, and he gets to understand her as well about how she likes the idea of them getting together. In the manga, she's much more of a fujoshi than she is in here, but it's just, yeah, it would be nice. And also, she kind of wants Adachi to act as her fake boyfriend so that she can get her folks off her case because she is ace and doesn't want any of this. So there is some drama around that, but it gets very much cleared up right away because he realizes she's in a different situation where, yeah, having someone act as her boyfriend is not a bad idea, but she's going to support and cheer on the main couple no matter what. And it's, well, yeah, it's done in a very tasteful and cute way, and I really want to see what it's like when she gets her powers. But anyway, Tumblr era, late 2020 into 2021, you get a lot of Kamen Rider Bill fans who are following the career of Akaso Eiji because, hey, I really liked him in Kamen Rider Build. He played a dumb idiot who liked to punch things and looked really nice topless. Let's see what else he's doing. Oh, hey, this BL show looks interesting. I can show you the world. On the other hand, you get people watching Cherry Magic going, hey, this protagonist is kind of cute and awkward, and I kind of like the way he acts, and I want to see more things he's done. What? He's played this dumb idiot that likes to punch things and looks good topless? I can show you the world. Therefore, you got a lot of fans going from Cherry Magic to Kamen Rider Build, and Kamen Rider Build into Cherry Magic, and really opening up both worlds of BL and Tokusatsu in general because of this crossover in actors. And yeah, it was very fun. And this is also a lot of what got people yelling about, oh no, the Toku to BL pipeline, as they just started going, how deep down does this go? The answer being extremely, extremely deep. I actually have shared in the Discord already, about half an hour before this panel started, a list that Tumblr user, Tumblr user Melto has come up, of over 100 BLJ dramas starring Toku actors. Now, some of these are, in fact, second and third seasons or movies of the same show, but there are still over 100 entries on this list. So, yes, this is something that we keep on seeing, and people actually like, kind of like what I've done here really badly, drawing in, oh, hey, it's this actor, oh, hey, it's this actor, by drawing the belts or the helmets of the characters that they are, just to go, oh, no, it's this again. Oh, no, it's this again. Oh, no, it's this again. And in case you're wondering, okay, so yeah, we've got that guy, but what about the primary and tertiary writers? So here is, Inukai Akihiro in not one, but two shows that he has starred in. And Zetai BL, as I've said, is pretty much, you will find every Toku actor. That, not quite literally, but you will find so many guys who have acted in Toku in this show. And something I forgot to mention earlier with the other poster I had of this show is, we're only talking about the actors who played major characters in Tokusatsu, characters who have appeared in one episode, characters in the two guys on the first poster. One of them had been in a single episode of Kamen Rider Revice. The other one actually was part of the group who sang the theme song for Kamen Rider Revice. And essentially in those cases, yes, there's going to be a ton of actors playing single roles for one episode, maybe two episodes, because that'll be a single arc sometimes. And they will show up in both as well. But we're less concerned about that. That's more jobbers getting their jobs. Unless it's oh, hey, it's that guy again. In which case we go, okay, so how many actors did they cast from one franchise to go into this one for this episode? But yes, Zetai BL has so many Tokusatsu actors. I did not do the helmets on that because it would have killed me. This other one, Our Dining Table, is an extremely sweet anime. Sorry, not anime. It's a drama. There's also manga on which it's based. It's only one volume. The drama actually I think is better in this case just because it has time to draw things out a little further. Um, but our dining table pretty much has Inukai Atsuhiro playing a guy who is very socially anxious, and this little kid ends up looking at this lunch that he's made for himself which is a giant onigiri, which is based on original style of onigiri that looks like a bomb, and he's like, "Bomb onigiri! I want the bomb onigiri!" And he does share his lunch, and then his older brother comes along. His older brother, by the way, is Kamen Rider X-Aid, and they very much start he Atsuhiro Inukai's actor ends up coming over and to cook for them, and they kind of end up building a family together, and it is just very sweet. It is very soft. If that's the kind of vibes you want, where there is romance and it certainly builds over time, but it's going to be a very soft and not so much a slow burn as a just a warm roaring fire that you get warmed by over time. Um, that's the kind of show that is, and it is a really good watch. But yeah, suffice to say, we've got BL for him. And then there's the tertiary rider who was in Old Fashioned Cupcake. Of the shows on this screen, Old Fashioned Cupcake was probably my least favorite, but I'll still introduce it anyway because we're doing all the Kamen Rider build ones. Old Fashioned Cupcake, these two are guys from the same company. And our Kamen Rider actor here, Kamen Rider Grease, plays Kohei Takeda, that's his name. Plays someone about 10 years the senior, and he doesn't want to move up in the company. He's comfortable where he is. He just wants to keep living his life. But also, he's really interested in girly things, especially like parfaits and just food-wise girly things. Like, if this were made for a Western audience, I can very much see it about drinks and just, I don't want to just have the beer. I want to have all the girly cocktails, but I'm afraid to do this on my own. So this younger guy finds out about this and is like, I will go with you. I am interested in doing this with you. We're going to call it princess training. It's going to be great. And I think it's also about maintaining one's youth. You're doing these things because you get to keep your youth. You get to act like a young girl and enjoy yourself, and you don't have to worry about the aging part of it as much. So that ends up going into romance, but that's the main premise of that one. Food brings the sweet feels. Absolutely. I have an entire separate panel on cozy queers and food that I want to bring here another year and talk to you guys about, because there is a lot of asexual content that involves food and cozy feelings. There is a lot of queer stuff that involves food and cozy feelings. And actually, I'm going to talk about another one of those shows in just a minute. Yes, please. Don't worry, I've got plans for next year. So let's ask another question. We've talked about the Toku to BL pipeline, but can there be a BL to Toku pipeline? Well, to answer this, I'm going to take you to the most illustrious example I possibly can. So this is Nishijima Hidetoshi. He is widely considered one of Japan's leading actors. He is the star of the critically acclaimed movie Drive My Car, which was nominated for an Oscar. He played a major role in Shin Ultraman. He played the title role in Kamen Rider Black Sun. He has a long and illustrious career, very well appreciated. So surely he can't. Yes. What Did You Eat Yesterday? Is a 2019 TV drama based on an ongoing manga series. And it is an ongoing story. It very much is about two guys who are cohabitating. They are gay men. They are in a long-term committed relationship with each other. They're actually not each other's types, but they find it very comfortable to be together. And that's interesting to see how that sometimes works into the interpersonal relationship between them as well. Shiro, who is played by Nishishima, is a lawyer who is professionally in the closet. Personal life, his parents know his personal life he's out, but he does not want that going into his professional life at all. His professional life just thinks he's a bachelor and unmarried man, and Why isn't he married? Well, he's definitely cooking for himself, unless it's a girlfriend cooking for him. He just doesn't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Um, Kenji, on the other hand, is a hairdresser who is very open about his sexuality. And pretty early on, they actually have a big argument because he talks about how he is very much the top and to one of his clients. And Shido is like, how dare you? I do not want you talking about my sexuality. But like Kenji being himself, being very openly gay, he is flaming. That is very much his personality. Shido is not. So you get two very different versions of gay being played here simultaneously, which is also great to see. It is a critically acclaimed show. There are 2 seasons. There is a movie. Yes, of course, the openly gay one is a hairdresser. And I will say, although I couldn't find any posters really easily with him on it as well, there is a secondary couple with a man about their age who is in a relationship with a somewhat younger man. I say somewhat younger. He's in his mid to late 20s. And the character's name is Wataru/Gilbert. And he was also from the Toku to BL pipeline in the usual direction because he was a lame from Kamen Rider Ghost. And yes, what did you eat yesterday? The thing is that with this show and with the manga as well, they age over time. And there is a lot of just depiction of normal life between 2 men, which there isn't a lot of overly sexual stuff in it. However, there is some innuendo. For example, I'm coming has the same double meaning in English as it does in Japanese. And there is official doujinshi, by which I say the mangaka has drawn doujinshi for the series. If you want to see some of the more E-rated stuff, but that is very much separate from the main series. But yeah, people love the depiction of life that this show shows and the way that it deals with just, again, an aging couple and some of the things that come with that. Starting, they are in their 40s when the series starts. You see Shiro's 50th birthday being celebrated by Wataru, who is a very petty gay, giving him this giant bouquet of roses to celebrate, hi, you're growing old. And it just goes from there. I'll also point out, again, this is a very prominent example, but there are less prominent actors who have gone from BL to Toku as well. Jeremy Bresietti, the 6th Ranger from King Oger, which is another great Toku, comes to mind. When we first found out, oh, hey, you're the 6th Ranger, interesting. Looking up, it's like, oh no, I believe he was in Sentai BL specifically, though it may have been another show as well. But there's a handful, especially in recent years, that we are finding have started in a BL but haven't really had their big break yet. So they end up cast in major roles in tokusatsu as well. So I have some final thoughts, but we have time for questions. And if you want recommendations, I can give a few more. But yeah, if you want to try either Toku or BL and you have some experience with the other, find an actor that you like and see what they've been involved in, because chances are at least decently good that if they've been in one, they've been in the other or will be in the other. And you can't go wrong with Kamen Rider Build as a jumping off point for both, because it is a very, even if it's, again, very much explicitly stated that Banjo and Sento are not dating, yes, they really, really are. To the point that, again, the ship teasing goes far enough that you have the little figurines with them. Are you asking me out? No. There is some Toku to GL too. Girls love, but this is a lot less common. But again, as we've noted, there's a lot less girls in the first place, so there's fewer opportunities for that to happen. And yes, the Toku to BL pipeline is real, but in short, it's a byproduct of overlapping casting needs. So are there any questions? Do we want any recommendations? Anything else to go on here? I will say one thing that I'm looking forward to later on this year is there's a movie coming out on Netflix called Ten Dance, which is based on a ballroom dancing manga in which 2 men, neither of whom realize that they're gay. Again, this is a trope. And end up trying to teach each other. One of them is very good at Western ballroom, one of them is better at Latin ballroom, and they are trying to teach each other how to be very good at each other's styles so that they can do a good job at this 10 dance, which is a competition where you're supposed to be doing all 10 in a very, I believe this is based on a real thing, but it is very high level competition. These are both already national and world champions, but they are very good at one style of ballroom dance and not the other. The guys playing the main two, the European dance champion actually is not a Toku actor, but is the guy that Kamen Rider Crossy Akaso was playing against in Cherry Magic. So we're like, oh, it's you again. Meanwhile, the Latin expert is also Kamen Rider Drive, which I believe this is his first foray into the Toku to BL pipeline, though don't quote me on that. But that's one that's definitely interesting, and I'm looking forward to see how that one goes because it's a very interesting manga. And are they tropes if it happens in real life? It can be. It can be because it's just like in shoujo. Or in fan fiction, there are things in fanfic that you find in real life, but still, you find it over and over again to the point where it becomes a trope. Oh my god, they were roommates. Or, senpai and kohai, and oh boy, Zetai BL. Again, I'm going to go back to Zetai BL. Because again, there's so many things that this is a speed run of different BL scenarios. You have pretty much every trope you can think of, and he just turns around and there's another one. Oh, these guys have come over to study with my boyfriend. Oh no, one of them's going to fall in love with my little brother. Oh no, one of them's going to fall in love with my little brother, isn't he? Oh, this guy forgot his notes in class, and someone's going to give him his notes. Those two are going to fall in love, aren't they? And et cetera, et cetera. So there are many tropes, and you're going to end up seeing them over and over, and Zetai BL will introduce you to all of them. But yes, Toku to BL pipeline, 100% real, and something that is very fun to yell about. And if you want to see more examples of people having drawn on posters to show, oh, it's that guy, just do a search for Toku to BL pipeline, especially on Tumblr. You will find so many. It's definitely a thing. So if there's no more questions I've got another thing here. Your experience with live action BL, but there's an ongoing horror BL manga called The Summer Hikaru Died that I really love. There's an anime coming out later this year, and I'm so excited for it. I have friends who are very much into The Summer Hikaru Died as well, and I'm sure they're going to be very excited for it as well. But yeah. There's nothing else that I'm going to say. Thank you very much for joining me for this presentation on the Toku to BL pipeline. And I hope that you learned something and or just had a lot of fun with, oh no, it's that again. Oh no.
No, it's Oh Japan.
It is. Oh Japan, you like pretty boys, and how could we put them to use? Here's two places that really need a lot of them. Let's go.